There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Breathe in and out, slowly feel all that's around you, all that you feel, all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. Yeah, when we unite. Oh, we unite. Yeah, yeah, when we unite. Yeah, yeah. You are welcome here. Love is welcome here. Peace is welcome here. You are welcome here.
Yes, yes, yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, and good day to you. You are truly, truly welcome here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in to yourself first, and then tuning in to Being You, the podcast, the journey back to yourself. I was going back to the old days. I was going to say, thank you for tuning into Life Conversations Radio. That's a long time ago. It's a long time ago. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And as you listen, you give yourself permission to be transformed. I am so excited today. I'll tell you why if you don't know, but it's gonna be good. I am Ade, your transformational beingness artist. Welcome to another episode of Ade Presents Being You, the podcast, the journey back to yourself. And we are going to take you back to a sacred place full of silence so you can recognize yourself as the son, S-U-N, of the soulful spirit. You see what I did there? We're going to have so much fun with today's topic. I want to remind you to affirm right here, right now, as you take a deep breath. I am present. I am here. I am now. I am present. I am here. I am now. That brings you back to this moment because that's all you got. And when you take a moment to just be still, you just might fall in love with the four S's. There are more, but we just had to grab those ones. And we might find out maybe you're full of S's as well. Season 4, episode 15. Today is Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Being You, the podcast, is an invitation for you to check yourself out. What's that thing? Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Ask yourself deeper questions. How do I see myself? So you ask yourself, how do I see myself? How do I see the world? How do I see myself in the world? And how do I see the world in me? It's a journey back to yourself. When you ask those questions, it brings you back to this moment. You get to listen to a deeper voice, and you get clear about what is yours to do, who you are, why you are, and then you can spend less time tripping and more time trusting. It's okay to trip because it makes the trust even more. I love it when I trust, but when you're tripping, if you trip and you don't learn to trust, you just wear you out. but if you give yourself permission to trust more, when you find yourself tripping, you're like, I know my way back home. That's the point. That's the point. Speaking of point, it's not a good segue. I don't know why I felt like saying that, but it just sounded good. I want to tell you this, and I'm moving fast because I have Rickie Byars in the house. And do you know, I feel a little bit nervous. I don't even know why. I keep saying, why am I nervous? And I'm going through this mental things like maybe it's because of that. Maybe it's, I don't know. I feel like I'm interviewing. I feel like the first time I interviewed Rickie, I'm like, she said yes. Oh my God, she's coming today. I still feel that. I mean, because, Rickie, if you don't know, you will. But, I don't know. She's making me nervous. Let me take a deep breath. Well, this will help me stay grounded if I represent my ancestors so I can stand in my own truth. Not that I'm not, but, it just sounds good. Anyway, I am hosting an event representing your ancestors April 28th, 2022 in association with letsreimagine.org. So you know about my representing your ancestors, representing our ancestors, representing our stories. And it's letsreimagine.org. They're doing this spring thing where they're focusing on grief, growth, and justice. So as part of that theme, I'm offering representing your ancestors. It's an invitation to heal the grief in the past and recognize that you're so much more, and connect to a part of you that it's invisible, but it's holding all of you up. You're more than your body. You're more than your experiences. You're more than your thoughts. And it's important to remember your roots. And as you do, it's really more of a ritual. So as you do the rituals to connect with those who came before you and present with you, you get to be with grief differently. You get to see justice and be justice in places where they got some amnesia. They forgot that we belong together. Some of them were never going to remember, but you can just keep moving. So if you want to find out some more information, in fact, I know you do, go to bit.ly/your ancestors. bit.ly/your ancestors. That's where you register, read more about it, and representing your ancestors. You're always representing your ancestors, but you get an opportunity to represent them in a way that liberates you and anybody that experiences you. bit.ly/your ancestors. Today's topic, today's theme is we are talking about Rickie's relationship with the four S's: spirit, silent, the sun, and her songs. I know we're going to go different places. Let me go now. I want to pull up her bio. I need to just tell you a little something about, Rickie, man, I just don't know what to say. I feel so honored and just to be around you. And I get to be with you every week. Oh, I am a blessed man. Rickie Byars is one of the most acclaimed and beloved singer-songwriter there is in the genre of inspirational / new thought music. Through her three-decade career as both a solo artist, music and arts director, and as founder and director of the world-renowned Agape International Choir. Rickie's deeply soulful and heartfelt songs of spiritual renewal, for true uplift and empower, and have struck a powerful chord with audiences around the globe. She's an activist. She walks around, lives around. That's right. You get to I can make things up because every word was made up. So don't tell me what does that mean. Well, figure it out. So she gets to walk around and live around as an activist as well because she lives from the heart. She expresses her activism in many ways in just a regular conversation through Kawumba, which is a learning initiative. I'm rooted in joy and creativity. And joy and creativity is the highest vibration. When you enjoy, when you created, oh, you're with God. So when you're with Rickie, you're with God. She developed and co-facilitates Soul Sisters Today. And that's a 3-day spiritual retreat, which is attended annually by hundreds of women who range from their early teens to their early 90s. There's a lot more that she does. She's on the board of directors for Voices for Freedom, an organization that works to free those among 40 million men, women, and children who are enslaved around the world. There's so much I can say about Rickie, but I know you're ready to hear her. She's ready to go, and she's like, let me in, let me in. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, psychics and skeptics, physical beings and non-physical beings, help me welcome my sister friend, Rickie Byars. Rickie.
I like the psychics and skeptics part.
Everybody, come on. Whether you believe, just come on. Hey,
Psychics
Rickie.
and skeptics. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh,
I can
good.
hear you loud and clear.
Oh, wonderful.
And
Wonderful.
it's so good to have it. We've done this many times, but
Yeah.
since we've been doing your show on a weekly basis, it just feels different. It feels different. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderfully well. I'm thankful, for, just that I get to be me and
Mm.
that I get to be with God all the time and that God loves me even though I don't always love myself as much as I want to.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Ooh, she dropping knowledge already. I'm telling you, when you're around Rickie, man, you're gonna elevate. mm. This is a holy moment because it is this moment that's never been lived before.
Mm-hmm.
It is a moment where we get to create something new,
Mm-hmm.
something different, just
Mm-hmm.
because we choose to.
Yes.
So I want to thank you for your yes.
Thank you.
Um, the funny thing is, when I interviewed you, if you had said no, when I invited you, if you had said no, I'd be like, "What? Why?" But you have that choice to say, "No, not ready, don't want to." But I want to thank you because I'm recognizing that we've talked about this topic that I call 4 S's, and it's really something that came to me when I thought of interviewing you. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, 4 S's, that sounds kind of weird. And then our spirit gave me, like, spirit, the silence, the sun, and the sun. I'm like, yeah, I like that, but it still sounds kind of weird. It's, but then, of course, sometimes when I get the download, when I get the message, I go back and forth. But it just felt right. It just
Yeah.
felt right. And for me, what I'm calling the four S's, it reflects you on such a deep level. Your love for spirit,
Mm.
your appreciation for silence. Nobody does silence on a show like you do. Most of the time on radio, whatever. Keep talking, fill in the. Don't have silence. You create space for silence. Your song, you talk a lot about the sun, and your songs are uplifting and heart expanding. And for me, it's been part of my spiritual journey. So I'm gonna interview you as if I don't really know you, and introduce you to others who have met you but may not know some things. I know some things that I may throw at you. But how did this journey, this spiritual journey of remembering who you are, how did it start?
Um, I think when you forgot who you were, you know, it's when it really starts.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I mean, up until that point, you're on your journey, and you're on your
Mm.
journey, and you're just doing what you do, especially as a child. You know,
Yes.
as a child, it's not like I'm on a spiritual journey unless somebody gave you that language. You know,
Yes.
you would just be on your journey. You know, and so in that context, it was like when you hit painful bumps in the road, that's
Mm.
when that's when it starts. You know, before then, you're in the Garden of Eden. You know, before you ate the apple.
Yeah. All naked, just eating
Before,
the apple.
yeah, yeah, you know, you're not before you take the apple that that goes like that make you go like what you know what did I just sign on for? And fortunately in my life, that happened early.
Mm.
It happened early, so around the age of 5.5, maybe close to 5.5, when I elected to leave my family and to my brothers and sisters, and we were very tightly knitted group.
Mm.
We didn't have money, we didn't have things, but we had love, and we had a lot of love, and that's what I remember. And I was the baby girl of 7 children, and so I was number 6 of the original group, and then 10 years later, there would be things would just change around and there would be 3 more coming. But in the original 7, when
You're
I
the
was,
origin. You were part of the original Supremes.
yeah, 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 we were the OGs, the first 7 buyers, and when I elected to leave my family because I thought that I was going to get more perks of life,
Mm.
because you're a little kid, and somebody goes like, if you come live with me, you're gonna have this, you're gonna have that, you're gonna have that, and I'm going like, sounds like a good deal. But nobody else said yes because
Mm.
they were more secure in the family hub. Me, I was like, that sounds like a great idea. And when I went, I found out why they said no.
Mm.
That
Mm.
there's something that they were aware of that I wasn't. There was an independence in me
Mm.
that I had already tapped that was more important to me
Mm.
than the familiarity of than
Mm.
my family unit. I was going to be with my aunt, but when I got there, when I got to the new destination, and they weren't there, I went to sleep, and then when I woke up, it was like it's like the serpent was like, you know what, you bit that apple.
You bit that apple.
So now you're aware of the world.
Mm.
And for the first time, I could see what I felt like. I was like, I'm not with them. I'm not with them anymore. I'm in a new situation.
At age 5, wow.
Yeah, and it was like, I mean, and the things that you look for, but my angels were with me. The people
Hmm.
that the beings that would wake me up in the morning, they were there.
Yes. Yes.
But everybody else was gone. They were in North Carolina and I was in Georgia, and I was on my journey. So you say, when did the spiritual journey begin? I think the right answer to that question is that for me, if there's a answer, is that it begins at birth, but
Mhm.
I think it begins at deep awareness, because
Yes.
I was aware, you know, I was
Mhm.
aware that we didn't have. I was aware that we needed some more food, and I was aware of some things, I
Mhm.
was aware of a lot of love, but it wasn't enough love to make me want to stay at home,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
because there was something else that was calling me, and that was a great lesson. That was, selling out for fame and fortune, and
Mhm.
so for the material, and I learned that lesson. And by the time I made my way back to my family again, there was nothing. I was so happy to be with them again. I had the joy that people experience of me, that
Mhm.
joy. I was so happy to be back, and
Mhm.
they were so happy to have me back. Sometimes you find that in foster care situations where you go live with a foster family, and sometimes the kids they just take all the children and put them in places, and the
Yes.
children are wondering, how's my little brother doing?
Mhm. Mhm.
How's my little sister doing? How's my big brother doing? You know, and so when I was fortunate enough to join my family again, nothing could diminish my joy. Nothing, you know.
Wow. So, keeping with the biblical references, it sounds like you have the in the beginning experience all tied in with the prodigal son, prodigal daughter experience, because you talked about when you got back and what that was like. But somehow I still find myself thinking at age 5, did you, I mean, probably, but did you know, I mean, were you able to weigh things out and say, okay, you said you would move with your aunt, right? Did you weigh things out saying, well, my aunt is promising this and this is what it's like at home, I think this is the best idea, or it was just
That's exactly what I did. But it was
really?
like, see, they called us all together on the meeting, and I remember this, and I did not make this up. I remember this well. My brothers and sisters they all have a different memory of that moment, because
Mm-hmm.
their moment, and when we talk about it, it's kind of deep when I hear them talk about, our little sister was gone, you know, and and how much they missed me, and
Mm-hmm.
they were also going through a whole lot of stuff, because my mother and my father they were just, it was hard times. So there would be evictions, there would be, trying to find a place to live and that kind of thing. And I was in another place. But when my aunt showed up and she had on her furs, and she was something else, and she was like, "Who wants to come live with me?" And you'll have your own room, you have beautiful clothes, you can ride with me. I got a big pretty car, and blah blah. And I'm thinking like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And she started at the top,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, and they called names, and everybody was like, no. And I'm way on the end because I'm number 6, and my baby brother wasn't there because he was sick a lot because he had sickle cell, so he was with my aunt. So it was like you hear what I say, he had sickle cell, he was healed. But anyway, and they went down the line, and I'm hoping like nobody says yes.
You're like,
And I can't wait down here on the
right.
end,
It's like, come on, get to me.
And I had a sister named Doll who sucked her thumb, and she had a thumb in her mouth, and she took her thumb out. She was like, "No." She's she said, "I don't want to leave my mama and daddy."
Mm.
That's what she said. I don't want to leave my mama and daddy. And she put her thumb back in, and I was like, "I'll go. I'll go." And I was the one that went.
Wow.
I was the one that went. My mom was in the hospital at the time. So it was like it helped everything for her to have one less child to
Mm.
provide for,
Wow.
and they thought it was a wonderful thing. And there were some other double entendres in there that I found out on down the road, but it was like really great to, to find my way. And I
Yeah.
think I think when I'm writing a song, because you talk about the 4 S's. When I'm writing a song, I'm on that road again. When I'm writing a song, I'm in the new house again. I'm meeting where I'm wondering where does it go? Where does the song belong? So all of that was part of the formation of my gift. You got to know how to listen. You got to know how to feel. you know
Yes.
you have to know how to feel. You have to know how to deal with sadness and tones, of sadness, and tones that make you cry and tones that make you happy. you know
You know, speaking of S, I think there are going to be a lot of S's to show us up in this conversation, because I don't know how often you tell the story of the three beings. I I love that story. I don't know why, but I know when I hear it, it touches me. So I want to go back to, because you mentioned earlier, if you talk about the three beings, and then we want to talk about sadness, because sadness and grief and stuff like that, we want to push it away, want to ignore it. But there's so much in it that helps us open our hearts when we allow it. It's not easy. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's difficult. But before we talk about that, let's talk about this. Can you introduce these three beings who said, Ricky, Ricky? No, that was doing the concept for Little Ricky, as you say.
And that's what they'd be doing, man. They would wake me up every morning. They would go like, "Ricky, wake up, wake up," and uh, and I was 2 years old in those days. I remember, man. And I'd get up and I'd go to the windowsill, and I have a little 2.5-year-old grandson, and so I know that a child could be dialed in.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
a child can be dialed in. Now, if a child says, "Daddy, do you see these do you see these my friends on the windowsill?" Daddy's going to go like, you know, um, we need to take them to the psychiatrist. Something's off. You know,
Yeah.
maybe, I mean, in those days, but now they'll go like, they're your invisible friends. But for me,
Yes.
I didn't have any kind of language like that. I didn't even tell anybody, look what's happening, because everybody was asleep. They were asleep because they came in the early morning, like right before sunrise. And that's when they would wake me up. And I would go, and they would be flipping and dancing on the ceiling, and so much joy. They just be flipping, running into each other and laughing. And, I didn't hear them singing music. I don't remember any songs that they were doing, but I just remember the energy of joy. And then the next part of that was being able to sing in a little children's choir that was led by this woman named Miss Anita Stroud. And so Miss Anita would have us singing, "I got that joy, 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 joy down in my heart." And she'd go like, "Sing, babies! You sound good." "I got the joy, 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 joy down." It was just, it was everything. It was everything. And it's so sad sometimes when you see a child grow up without community, without
Yes.
anybody to say, "Hey, you're doing great." And their community is, well, now that their communities are online, so they're finding a lot of
On
friends.
on their hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're fine. They're making their own communities now. And
True.
it's a different world,
It
but
is.
the world that I emerged in, it
Mm,
had, we didn't have video games. We didn't need them.
right.
We didn't need them.
Hmm.
We had each other.
That's it. That's it. Do you remember the last time you saw the little beings? Did you ever give them a name as well?
No, I didn't have any names. That they were
Mm,
just. It's like God. I mean, if they hadn't given me the name of God,
mm.
it would just be it would just be me. It would just be joy. It would just be, but they've given us stories, and they've given us allegory, and they've given us all kinds of references so that we can have a proper identification, it seems, of who we are. And so many times we're still crazy, you know,
Yes.
even with all the gods
Hmm.
and all
Even
the
with
ways
the
to describe
gods.
the universe. It's like, hey, if that was all it took, if Calvary was all it took, God bless, the
Yeah.
stories, if Calvary was all it took,
Hmm.
but it's like, no, it's you, it's you,
Yes.
it's you.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
we give thanks for all the stories, because
Hmm.
the stories are good as long as they don't have you confused. But in
Yes.
in in my life, it was just them. They were there, and when I moved to Atlanta, I wondered if they were going to find me, and they did.
They
And they,
did. How old
yeah,
were you then when you moved to Atlanta?
I was 5.
Okay. Oh yeah, okay. So it was Atlanta. So when was the last time you remember seeing them, or yeah, seeing them?
Really about around I guess maybe 6.
Mm,
Maybe 6.5. Something. I mean, they just stopped coming. I didn't even go like, why they don't come anymore.
mm,
There was no lamentation or, oh, I miss them, or why they don't show. It's just like they don't wake you up anymore.
mm.
So because now I am awake.
Right. Yeah. You got the
Yeah,
message.
yeah. Now,
Yes.
now I am awake. You
Yes.
know, and now my uh, uh, attention, my and the awareness that was building in me was towards sound,
Mm,
because I was becoming a singer. And I remember this. I remember there was a Christmas program, and and at the end of the program, all these children's parents were there and their loved ones, and they were hugging their kids. And now I was a beautiful child. I just want to say this part. One thing about the good life my aunt gave me,
I know where this is going.
she gave me some nice clothes. And my hair was always done up, and I was, I was a child. I was dressed, and I always had a birthday party. I found out about that years later. Well, you were the only one that got a birthday party. That's when I
Wow.
went back to college, and somebody was like, "Are you Rickie Byars?" And I had all this big old heart, open heart, and she's like, I remember you. You had those chubby legs, and because I was a chubby little kid with wild hair, and she just, she just said, "You all," and I mean, I used to have a thing about my aunt of what she didn't do, and when this girl told me
Mm,
her her perspective,
yeah.
her perspective of this kid that had everything, and so it was true. I had some things. So I was at this Christmas program, and everybody was hugging each other, and it had been a great program, but nobody was there to hug me.
Mm,
And I wasn't thinking there's nobody here to hug me. I was just standing there by myself, and this lady came over, and she was looked like, well, when you're short, I mean, when you're 6 years old, everybody's tall, but she looked like a really tall lady, and she kneeled down, and she looked at me, she said, "You were wonderful."
mm,
She said, "Oh my God, you're going to grow up," and she says, "You're going to be a great singer one day.
mm,
Your
mm.
voice was beautiful." Because I had a solo. I had the jolly old St. Nicholas lean your head this way line. I was killing it.
Yeah, that's my lie.
That's the thing
Mm,
about schools in the South in those days. The music programs were always good.
mm.
You know.
So you said, there were people saying they're greeting the other kids, but not you. But you weren't sad. You were okay.
Well, I was waiting. It was like, it's
Mm,
kind of like I was just there. I was aware. I always missed my family.
mm,
I always missed them. Always. But there was, I just finished a great show. And there was all this energy,
mm,
So I was, I don't really reflect on it much. I really don't. I just remember that moment when that lady said,
mm,
"You're going to be a great singer."
mm, mm,
She says,
mm,
"You no." She says, "You are a great singer." She says, you're gonna be great." And I was like, "Thank you." And she told me what I was going to be. From that moment on, I knew I was going to be a great singer.
mm.
She defined it.
Yes,
You know what I
yes.
mean? God designed it, but she defined it,
And you keep refining
and I
it.
refined it.
Wow, wow. I mean, that's a good lesson, really, for us all to be aware, not just saying things for the sake of saying it, but be aware of the children and the adults that's around us and the conversation we're having. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes life happens where we're not saying what we may think, oh, I could have said something different. But leading with that intention as we step out into day, looking for the best, looking in someone, looking to affirm somebody and how that can change their life.
Yeah, yeah, and the destiny I had was the destiny I had. You know,
Yes.
sometimes you're in a different kind of household. You're in the Martin Luther King
Yes.
household, you know, and
Right.
they're talking about the demonstrations, what's going to emerge, and you grow up with a certain awareness. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Hmm.
in the household that I grew up in, and the surroundings that I found myself, mostly it was music and community that I was aware of.
Mm.
You know, wasn't, you know, and I heard all about the sit-ins because my aunt would come back talking about the sit-ins and what was happening at the lunch counters, and you know, you know, they were dialed in, but uh, you know, I didn't see her as an activist at
Mm.
all. You know, I saw her as a different kind of person.
Mm.
But for me, what was for me even then was the music. You know, the music was for me, and I had the life I had. You know, and I appreciate that life.
Mm.
I appreciate that life. I appreciate everything about it.
Do you think growing up in that time and knowing about the sit-ins actually planted a seed inside of you to be more, to move the course forward in your own way as you do now through joy and creativity and
No,
songs?
no, no, because it wasn't a 100%. The I didn't see that kind of dedication,
Okay.
you know, in my aunt, and she was my guardian. You know, what I saw was, you better get straight A's. What I saw was her demanding a certain kind of excellence from me. She
Hmm.
was a no nonsense kind of person, and she would beat my butt. And because I was wild, but you know, I was myself.
Hmm.
You know, and in a different kind of setting, the kind of child I was would be okay. In the
Hmm.
setting that I was in, it would have been dangerous for me to be uh, carrying on like I was. And I carried on anyway. She didn't know.
She said, I still did what I needed to do.
But listen, when she found out, boy, it was
Right.
like bang, bam.
She caught up with what she didn't even know. And she
Oh
didn't
my
even.
God. Oh my God, man. And she was like, oh my God. I'm going like, oh my God. But the people around me really saw the situation, and they would dial in tenderness
Mhm.
because they knew I was in an interesting situation.
So, what kind of things did little Ricky, got into?
Well, you know, I had a fiery spirit, and I would fight. You know, it's like I wouldn't pick fights,
Mhm.
but I would instigate a few when a person said the wrong thing to me. And I remember in the first grade, man, this little girl, man, she just was getting on my nerves, man, and she just would tell on everybody and blah blah blah, and she told on me, and she was in the bathroom, and and we just had, you know, I said
First grade. You're the OG. You're like, I'm gonna get you.
but listen, somebody, I'm gonna tell you who told me this, but I will. It was my older cousin. He was like, if you ever get in a fight, just squeeze the nipple like that, you know, and I listened to him, and that's what I did. Don't you ever do, you know, when in the old days they beat you and talk when they whip you. Didn't
Right.
I tell you not to? And so I was following their step, and I'm going like, don't you ever tell on me again. If you do it, and she's screaming. And then, you know, they came in the bathroom, and she's like, Ricky's beat me up. And that was another beating, you know.
Oh God.
I got them all the time. And but it's funny, in my mother's house, I didn't have that because my
Mm.
mom was a different kind of person. It's just like I was a good kid. I was a good kid then, but I was just lonely, man. And you know, and just really trying to find my place. You never been in grade school? You got to, you know, you got a privilege that you sold your family for.
Mm.
You got a privilege, and everybody looks at you. That's the life I had. I had that, like this is a funny story. This is a funny story. So we used to learn Spanish. We were all bilingual in those
Mm.
days, and so we learned
You mean in
these.
school or your siblings?
No, in school in Atlanta. In Atlanta, in those days, foreign languages was a must,
Mm.
and so we started with Senorita Georgina Martinez, and she would teach us Spanish, and we would look at that every day, and we were really good. I mean, by the time I got to third grade, I was really good. But in the first grade, Senorita Georgina Martinez came to our elementary school, the Prior Street Elementary School. That's where in Atlanta,
Mm.
Georgia.
That's true. Okay.
My aunt had made my little outfit like hers.
Mm.
I tell you, when I look back over my life,
And I think, oh,
it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but it
mm,
was like my
mm,
aunt had my special dress with the ruffles and all this stuff, and so everybody was there, and it was like the whole place was draped, and we did the show, and all the people, the parents, everything was. It was just a beautiful day from my little 6-year old perspective.
mhm,
So everybody, the show was over. Okay, the show was over, and recess time, and the kids are playing, and everybody's happy, you know. And then somebody asked me, "Can I have one of those things that was hanging from the ceiling, like they were draping these kind of like they used to call them crepe paper." And
mm.
this crepe paper was stripped up, just beautiful decoration. Place was just beautiful. And so kid says, "Can I have one of those?" And I looked at it, I was like, "I guess so." But he asked me because I was the leader, but I don't know why I was the leader, except, guess. Well, I said, "Yeah, I guess so." Next thing I know, everybody's getting the crepe. And
Oh,
man, and they were balling up paper and throwing, and it was just the best
mm,
party of kids screaming and crying. And the teacher came in and
mm.
saw that we had ruined the decorations because they said the camera people were
Oh,
coming,
wow.
you know, and they asked this question: "Who told you to do this?"
Oh, God. They threw you under the bus?
They threw me under the bus. They was like, "Ricky said it was all right."
Oh, God.
I was in trouble again. you know
Oh,
that, that show Everybody Hates Chris. It was Everybody Loves
I was
Ricky.
just talking about that
It
today.
was, yeah, that was Everybody Loves Ricky. But Ricky was catching hell in the back of the room.
Oh, God. Wow. Wow. So clearly you've always been an influencer, a change agent.
I guess you could say, but in that time, I got to say this: the way I dealt with the sadness of being away from my family and stuff was music.
Mm.
Music absolutely got me through.
So
And
sadness led you to music.
yeah, music led me to music, but
Okay.
the 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 distance created in me quite a bit of sadness. But when I heard Nina Simone sing "I Love You, Porgy," when I heard her sing that, when she sang that song, and my aunt used to listen to real jazz and good music, and when good music used to be on the radio, you could hear all kinds of. In those days, radio was very diverse, so you heard everything, black and white, everybody, on the same radio station,
Mm.
and she was, and Nina Simone started singing "I Love You, Porgy," and I had to go to a corner and just cry,
Mm.
because you know it felt like it was my story, you know, because I was living through a few things there in that house. So it was like an interesting thing that
Yeah.
music, the sound of those chords would become part of my sound.
Mm. So, the sadness, the theme is in this conversation. And earlier I was saying, let's talk about it. What What would you say about sadness? Are there things we can learn from it? And when we're in it, what do we do?
When you're sad, when I'm sad, I can't. One thing that I don't know how to do, and maybe if I did, I could be real famous like Wayne Dyer and them, is to, because you always hear Wayne Dyer, Mary, Michael, and the
Mm,
teachers, they speak very broadly. And
mm,
I don't do that. Mine, I can just speak from my own experience. And I
mhm.
can't say that that's what happens for the masses because
Yes.
in my mind, the masses are just all individuals,
Hmm.
different people, and we're having our own experiences,
Hmm.
but um, uh, sadness for me just gives me space. It brings distance. It gives me pause to reflect, you know, pause to reflect. And that's probably when I'm the most still,
Mm.
is when I'm going through some sadness or grief,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
because like I don't know if you guys were looking at the devotional on Sunday, but I call myself the moving saint.
Mm,
And my
mm.
daughter and my son, I mean, they meditate, and I meditate,
Yeah.
I meditate, but I don't I don't know my associate my relation my need is a little bit different.
Mm,
It's like my the way I hold it is like it's like this, you know.
mm.
It's beautiful, you
Yeah.
know. It's
Yes.
beautiful to be able to hold it like this. You see that?
Hmm.
This is from Ghana, you
Mm.
know. I mean, I hold it like that. It's like, you know what? It's everything.
Yeah.
It's an umbrella. Everything fits under that. When you're sad, you know, are you trying to make it go away? Are you trying, you know,
Right.
I think when you're sad, you're feeling something. There's something in your heart.
Hmm.
There's something in your heart and that's a good thing when the heart is opening. That
Yes.
sadness is an emotion that opens the heart to feel, you know,
Mm.
and and to learn. Say, well,
Hmm.
and then when you can learn from it, then you don't have to be sad.
Right.
You
Right.
know, you can be aware.
That is part of life.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just
yeah,
because you got through it this time, that doesn't mean it's over. It might
yeah,
come, and when it comes, it doesn't give you warning. It just shows up. Sometimes you might feel like coming on, but it's part of life. And
yeah,
I get what you mean about embracing it, making recognizing it, holding it lightly, and
yeah,
understanding there's something else is being birthed. There's a break open that's happening.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And I've used music. Music has helped me through it all. I was listening to the other night. I just was had a bunch of dishes to wash, and I was like, "How am I going to make it through?" And I put on Motown. I put on this song, and it's a great song, and I forgot about that song, and it came up with how sometimes music comes up automatically from and it begins to stream, but
Mhm.
this song came up, and it says, "Here's your old friendship ring. I can't wear it anymore.
Mm.
Here's your old love letters.
Mm.
I can't read them anymore. Love, you've gone from me and left behind so many memories." Now when that song came out, those chords were so bad. I mean, they were so jamming. I was
Mm.
like, "Oh my God, how did they write that?"
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
and it bum 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 bum. Here's your old, because in the future, which has already happened,
Yeah.
in the future, those chords would be my chords.
Mm.
Only there
Mm.
would be something else happening on top of it. It won't be about, you know, because of these memories, I don't think about anybody but you and blah blah blah. It would be, imagine the sound of the ocean. I am more than this.
Mm.
You know, I
Mm.
am more than this. I am more than this. You know, it would be that. You know,
Yes.
but you know,
Mm.
in my baby growth space, you know, the blues, everything, all the sounds, it took it all. It wasn't just gospel or Gregorian chant, you know, or classical music or funk. It was everything.
Mm.
And I think that was a blessing, total blessing, that I was
Yeah.
born at the time I was born.
Yes, indeed, because you keep blessing us. You keep blessing us through the gift.
Mm, thank you.
Let's talk about silence. I know you have a deep appreciation. You've kind of touched on it, but you know, we host a show together, so fulfilling every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and 2 a.m. on Thursday morning. And it's I don't know how to describe, but it's something to watch you. I feel like through the shows, I've got to know you in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
How personable you are. That's one of the things that really attracted me to you because when you used to come to Hillside and I see you
Mm-hmm.
talking to me, you talk as if you know these people. And one thing I used to say, she talks to you like she knows you from so many years. Like there's a connection. You feel the heart connection. And so as we do the show together, you know, I mean, I grew up in the idea of radio, you don't need silence. You got to always have something going.
Mm-hmm.
And there are moments that when we're doing something on the show, maybe you finish playing a song and you just want that silence. Like, take that in. It's so beautiful. I've seen you do it when you were at Agape with the choir. And one time I remember you telling the audience, when we finish singing this song, don't clap, just take it in.
Mm-hmm.
Why is silence so special, important, sacred, and yummy to you, if you will?
Well, you know, it's not yummy enough.
It's
Uh,
not yummy enough. Say
yeah,
more.
it is not yummy enough, or I'd be more silent. But
Well,
I
maybe
was
you have
thinking,
a voice for
well,
silence.
I'm in silence all the time, you know,
Mm,
and most of the time, especially in the life I have now with my mom gone, there's big silence,
mm,
and she was such a part of my life for so many years, and the choir was such a part of my life. The work that I had, the day to day, was so intense for
mm,
so many years that now, not having my mother transition on, you know, and in a holy way, and
mm,
having transitioned from agape and all those that whole scenario, you know, it's like now I'm in the third year of this will be the third year this year of being away, and
mm,
that's not a long time when you
mm.
were at a place for 32 years. So
Wow.
you know,
Yes.
but what it's given me is space, and space in my life comes with silence.
Mm,
Space, space from not so much activity, you know, or so many people, or so many classes that you're teaching, or so many retreats that you're doing. Just space.
mm,
and and I just appreciate that, and I'm learning more and more about the silence
mm.
and the richness of it. I was listening to the devotional from Sunday. It was great. That we were outrageous out there. But Georgia, my beautiful daughter, had just finished singing "I Rest in Thee," and when she finished, because she sang that song. She sang that song, and when she was done, it was like, and she was like this. But I was on to the next page because I knew we were going to be wrapping up. You know, we were going to be wrapping up. So, but if we had had more time to be in that space, but she held it. I'm
Mm.
talking, we're about to do some other things, and Georgia's here.
Mm,
because she had given it. It
mm,
had flowed through her, you know, and she didn't have to talk. So
mm.
she could hold that space. She held it. And I
Right.
looked at, and when I look at the devotional, and she's just there holding it like that. All this activity going on, she's there like that. And that's a metaphor. That's a metaphor for a whole lot of things. It's like when the world is doing all of this, we're holding this
Still.
space.
Yes.
We're holding this space without the opinion, without the noise, without the doing.
Mm,
You know, it's
just be.
just be.
Be.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
Mm,
what the silence means to me.
yes. I don't know about the listeners. I know I felt it. I felt like that was a meditation. I mean, I could feel my whole being just relaxing and resting. Let's talk about your relationship with the sun. The sun, the sun, the sun.
It's
When did
just
that, when did that start? I wish I was a singer, you know. But anyway,
man,
I sing the way.
you would never shut up if you
No, I will not. I'm telling you, I will. You're very right. I will. Oh my God, I'll be walking down singing there. Oh Lord,
and you'd be famous because you're so fine, man. You'd get a record deal just like that.
just like that.
But you don't.
Woo, Lord, yes, the world would be in trouble if I came like that.
That's
Yep,
like that. They used to say in the old days, you'd be dangerous. Like this. I never
most
heard that
definitely.
language. I never heard that language. I heard it in college, and this
Mm,
girl was like, "I'd be dangerous if I could." She had a cigarette. I'd be dangerous if I could sing, and I'm thinking like,
dangerous. How did they go together? Singing and
right,
dangerous.
right. I'm trying to figure out
I'm
what
confused.
I'm going like. You dangerous now with that cigarette.
Right, back off.
But the sun, I don't know. You know, I used to call the sun out when I was a kid. I mean, the sun has always been there, and the
Hmm.
sun has been mighty in my life. I don't know how. I don't know what else to say about it. It's like it's the sun. It's like
Hmm.
it's you know it's like God. It's like the sun,
Hmm.
and we
Hmm.
know that God is more than the sun. You know,
Yes.
and I say that in a song, but God's. You know, I used to think God was the sun.
Hmm.
You know, God is the sun. You know, but God's more than the sun. But on this planet, if that go out,
We all going out.
party over, oops, out of time.
Shut this down.
So,
Yeah.
so it's just like I need it. It's good for my body. It's good. It can heal so many different things when you get your sun, especially people of color, and the deeper the color, the more sun is required. So, but there was a time in my life when I was asked to write a song, and that was for Pharaoh, and I hadn't done a sun song yet,
Hmm.
and this was a song that was, I think in your language you will say channeled, but
Hmm.
I would just say that it happened through me,
Hmm.
and I had the music that I had done an audition with him for to be in his group.
So you said Pharaoh. Who is that?
Pharaoh Sanders is a great saxophone player,
Okay.
and at the time, I mean, he used to John Coltrane uh, worked with Pharaoh and brought him along, so because Pharaoh had an amazing tone and still does. He still does have an amazing tone. He's from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. But anyway, he had done a record with a great singer named Phyllis Hyman.
You.
And, uh, and Phyllis didn't want to do the road tour, so I auditioned for that part. And the person who was putting together the band told me about the opportunity and wanted me to. He said, you might want to come and audition for
Hmm.
Pharaoh's band. And I didn't know a whole lot about Pharaoh. And I did a little research. I was like, oh, okay. But I wasn't I had already been the lead singer with the jazz quartet, the New York Jazz Quartet. So I was done with jazz.
Mm.
I got mad. So I was like, I'm leaving jazz.
Ouch.
I'm
I'm done with
like,
all this jazz.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I know how to leave. Ricky know how to leave. I was like, this is not cool. So anyway, the music was good though. I learned a lot. But with Pharaoh, it brought me right back into jazz, sort of. And so when I was there, he was very taken with my music. And so he says, she writes, she sings, she gets the gig. That's Pharaoh said, he said, we don't have to hear nobody else. She gets
Mm.
it. She gets to do it. She can write and sing. So, because I sat on the piano and I played and sang for my audition.
Mm.
I always did. That's what I always did. And so I sat down, played, sang, and they were like, she gets it. Well, Pharaoh says, well, look, I got this song that I wrote. You think you can do something with this? And he played it. I said, let me tape it. And I had my cassette player with me. And I taped it on my little cassette where he played it. And I took the cassette and um, and went home and just listened to it because I love the chords because they were my chords. Just like the I Love You Porgy chords, those were mine. So many memories from the Motown days, those were my chords. They're just part of the way I'm created this time. And and so I woke up in the middle of the night. I had my tablet and everything, and I wanted to write some words. I had read this book called Initiation by Elizabeth Hake about her experience of going back into many reincarnations,
Mm.
and she called it Egypt, so she wasn't on the Kemet side, but this is a woman writing about her experience, and the book was pretty. It was pretty fascinating. I loved the book, and I could see a lot of correlations in the book, especially when she had this situation where she couldn't move and her spine was immobilized because I had been through that in my life at 17 when I had spinal surgery when I was immobilized and in excruciating pain. So I'd been through that, and I kind of could identify with her journey, the woman that wrote the book. Okay, so when he gave me the music, I wasn't thinking about the book and I wasn't thinking about anything. I just was thinking about the music. And I went to sleep and I woke up around 3 in the morning and I just wrote. First came the moon, which reflected the sun. And together the sun and the moon bore the earth. So this whole cosmology just poured through me. You know, earth as she pleased, sighed the winds, cried the seas. Mother Nature indeed had a glorious birth. So I could write, I could write long before I met Michael Beckwith at Agape. But by the time I got to Agape, life had shut me down or I had allowed it to, not knowing how to not do that, that Michael would help me open up again. But I could always write. That's what I wanted to say. But I needed a writer to help me. I needed somebody who could speak of God in those terms years later. But in those days, I was in my 20s and I was completely open. I was completely open. And happy to be out of that first marriage. But anyway, so I wrote the whole song. Sometimes in life there are problems and strife. I mean, it's just such a beautiful song. And so that was my first son song. Then I would write another one about hearing the sun. It feels so good. I made the sun my neighborhood. You never heard this one. I left my lover for the sun. He could come. He chose to dream on his reflection in the stream. I chose to dream upon the sun. The sun is life because it's love. A ball of wisdom high above, a fiery beam it seems for all time. It turns my blues into reds, raises the spirit from the dead. I'm growing sunny. A beautiful, beautiful song, that you've never
Did you ever
heard.
record that?
I had a little recording of it, but it's a beautiful song. And, so the sun the other songs that were going to come were just from inspiration,
Mm,
just
mm.
inspiration, you know.
It's I'm having maybe part of because I tell people when people are nervous, sometimes we look at nervousness as something bad or I'm going to mess up or whatever the case may be. And what I'm kind of recognizing is what I call nervousness is a sort of opening in my senses because I'm listening to you. It literally just feel like it seems like it's not even tied with us doing the shows on a weekly. It's like meeting you for the first time, and then there's so many things that you're saying that's just drawing me in, and I just feel a sort of like wow, I want to know more because I'm genuine like that anyway. I always want to know more. The songs. Did you ever have an intention, an idea of what you wanted your songs to do for people that listens to it? An impact? Did you, or did you sang because that's what you do?
Yeah, I wanted to be Carole King. I wanted to be rich.
He said, I can tell you that.
I mean, you just go up. I could start from the Supremes, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, I just because the world I
Yeah.
was born into was I enjoyed the music in my school, in my high school, and all the different songs we sang, junior high, elementary. I enjoyed all the music, you know. But what was planted in me was that you girls can sing, so we can we can do a record on you, and then we can get you a record deal because that's what was happening in America at the time, and especially in the era of the Beatles and the Motown, especially with Motown and the girl groups. And so my sisters and I had a girl group. And even though I
Mm,
was the baby girl, I was the leader of the group. I would tell people what to sing. I wasn't the lead singer, but I would give the parts.
mm.
And then I had a sister who had a brilliant voice, and then I had another sister she wasn't all that brilliant in hers, but you know, but she's brilliant now. She's brilliant now. She can sing now. I say, sis, you are the first. I say, you were the last, but they say the last shall be first. Boy, my sister can sing now. She's got such a beautiful tone. And, so anyway, I wanted to be famous, and I wanted to be known. And so when I became a songwriter, it was planted in me that, you can make money from writing your songs. And so I wanted to make money from writing my songs. And I wanted a record deal. I wanted a good deal. I want. And, and the universe, because I was born for more than, what that road might have brought me to.
Yes.
Because a lot of people crashed and burned on that
Mhm.
road. And I'm laughing because there was this guy who was the biggest promoter that I knew at the time, who lived in the apartment complex that we lived when I was in Atlanta back in the day. And he was like, "No, pretty, you don't want to do that. You don't want that kind of life." I was like,
No,
"I want it. I want it. I want it."
and I want it now.
He wanted me to be a songwriter. He didn't want me to go for the singing of it, And that was kind of disappointing. But I went on for it. I went and did my road. That took me to New York. That took me finally. So the only time that ever there was an inkling of this music is for healing was when this person told me, you're going to meet a person from the West. This is a reader, a spiritualist that was working at a place where I was a temporary secretary. This is between the gigs with Pharaoh, between different things. I would always be typing in the daytime, and when I needed to. And this lady said, I was humming while I was filing, I was singing. And she said, "Oh my God, she says, she did the same thing the lady said when I was in the first grade.
Mm,
She says, you're a great singer. She says, you're going to meet a man from the West who has a beard and a mustache. And she says, and you guys are going to write music that goes over the world and it's going to heal people.
mm, mm,
And I was like, that would be great.
mhm.
Because I'd already stepped into it with The Child of the Sun with Pharaoh. So already things were shifting in my writing.
Yeah.
Things were beginning to shift. And I was already in New Thought and all of that, but
Mhm.
I hadn't quite done it all. And eventually, um, by the time I came into Agape, I was ready. I was so beat up. Like I think Michael said, she crawled in here on her belly.
On our belly. Help! Right. With the keyboard. Mm, mm. When you think of your life now, if you have, I'm sure you have, can't imagine you not. You're such a deep thinker. And you look back, do you feel, do you see yourself as being known and famous now?
I'm learning that I am.
Mm,
It's not like, but it's not in the way that I thought I wanted,
yeah.
because I don't want that.
Mhm,
I
mm,
don't want that. You know, but when I see, like I did a concert like last weekend, a couple of weeks ago now, because last weekend was Easter weekend, but the week before that I was in Fort Lauderdale, and it was deep. People came from long distances to be there. They wanted to be in the field of the sound. And Keith Leon, who was in the Agape choir, he came. He was there, and his wife and his son, who grew up in the culture of the music.
mm,
So they're crying, listening to these songs that were a part of their life. Like that right there, that's not fame. You know,
yes.
that's not fame. That's fabulous.
Favor. That's
Yeah, that's favor.
favor.
Or fabulous. But that's
Yeah.
favor, man, because it's like
Yes.
to see people standing up singing with their eyes closed, people who lived through COVID. Like the woman said, she played Heavenly Body and In
Mm,
God's Hands. This is Diane Rivers and Michael Rivers when Michael was going through it. She says when they finally let her in the hospital, she went in with the music and they played it for 10 days until he got out of the hospital. They're playing in the hospital.
mm,
Like that's what people do with this music.
yeah.
This music and my daughter was the one that would tell me one day when I was still lamenting because I hadn't, because somebody else got on the radio, and her record was being played, and she got to go and she got to get the record deals and she got to be all these things, but she wasn't a greater talent than I am. Why she get to go? And I'm breaking down, I'm letting it out, and I'm
Mm,
not prone to that kind of emotion, but
right.
at that time, um, Georgia was just rubbing my back, you know,
Mm,
because my mama was saying, well, what? My mother happened to be in town at that time. Georgia was like maybe 14 years old, maybe 15, and I'm
mm,
crying about, you know, I'm crying about the fact that somebody else got is seems to have a chance. She's on the radio and she's doing all of this stuff, and I'm not. And Georgia was like, "You gonna?" She said, "Mommy, one day you're gonna realize that you came, your voice, your music, you came to heal people."
mm,
And she said, "And that's gonna be enough."
mm. At 15.
Maybe
Wow.
14, maybe 14. She said,
Mm,
"And that's gonna be enough." And it's enough.
yeah. Because God is enough for you.
Yes, Lord. Yes,
Mm.
it's enough. You know,
Can you imagine what life could be like without music?
food.
I didn't see that one coming. Okay, so then food and music means what to you?
Well, no, what did you say? What was that?
I said food and music means what since you get to have both. Is that so fulfilling?
Yes.
Mm,
uh, you know, I life is music. So if you say life without music, it's just it doesn't. Um, it's almost like no other power can exist outside of the infinite.
that's right.
So even that possibility doesn't.
Yes. Yeah, I get it. For a minute, my mind went to the song. I was starting to sing the song in my head as I come back over here.
Well, that don't I love those words. Those words like
Yes.
those words I got. Those are Michael's words.
Mm.
He said there's a power of presence. But the only reason I use them is because of Mary Tompkin, though. Because she
Really?
was, yeah, she had a, I had heard her speak and she pumped me up. So I listened to her talk and then I listened to his talk, which was on the other side of the cassette. They had done a Panorama of Truth conference in Vegas. And Michael had told me, he says, when you hear Mary Tompkin, she's got something for you. And she did have something for me. Mary Tompkin was a Bible-toting metaphysician. She didn't take no mess. And she's just like a Pentecostal or New Thought. A New Thought Pentecostal.
Right.
She was dangerous. But and she came up under Johnny Coleman. So they were very powerful speakers. And and Michael spoke after her and so I had both tapes. And she had the energy, but he had the words. And he says that there's a power in the presence. One love of God, one life of all, and no other power can exist outside of the infinite.
Yes.
Ain't no two power. No, no. Nothing exists outside of it. It is everything, and it is in everything. It's everything. So when I sang the song, you know, I sang it like Mary would if she could sing it, but I was singing his words. I walk in the love of God. Yeah, yeah. That's a beautiful song. Then I put my own little stuff in it.
Right.
But that first verse, man, nothing exists outside of that possibility. I mean, that's it.
That's it.
That's it for me. Yeah.
Yeah. We got few minutes to go, and we're living in a time that literally unprecedented. It's like questions and things are happening right in front of us that we can't even believe is happening, and it's like wow. I mean, I don't know what we expected, but there's still things that are happening. There's just like, well, it's funny when people say this is 2022. Why are we still dealing with racism? It's like, what did we have a goal? Did we have a time when we said it'll be over? But and because of the things that are happening, and sometimes when we don't take time to be still, to understand that we walk in the love of God, it's easy to get blown by the wind of change and all the foolishness that's happening. And there's someone who may be listening, feeling like, "Whew, I wish I could be where Rickie is. I wish I can find what my song is." Song as a metaphor. What would you share for those of us who, on some level, we get it, but maybe it hasn't anchored? Or maybe there are those of us who've actually got it, but sometimes we're like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know if this thing is really going to help humanity." What medicine would you share with us as we move through this time of change?
I would say take some time to be with nature, like really stand on the earth. Like when is the last time you did that, Ade?
Oh, Sunday and Saturday.
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
felt the difference too. I haven't done it in a
yeah,
long time, and I
yeah,
felt the difference.
yeah.
Yes.
I would say
Mhm.
that. I would say, yeah, stand on the earth or
Yes.
stand on the earth. You got to
Yes.
find some place to stand. I mean, we
Hmm.
are of the earth. We're of
Yeah.
God, and God is the earth, and the
Hmm.
sun. God is all of it. We are part of nature, and this whole awakening, this whole us human beings becoming humans, other humans becoming more aware of what it means to love. I mean, some humans have always known that,
Yes.
you know. and they've been around for millions of years. So the thing is, it's like as the rest begin to wake up to, you
Mm-hmm.
know, stand on the earth, behold the sun, and sing. I mean, it's just so simple, but it then and then you respond.
Yes. Stand. What's it? Stand on the earth, behold the sun, and then sing. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and then you know, be still for a moment, and take it all in, and then pick up and go on and do what is yours to do. You
Mm.
know, just be who you are. I can't say it enough. I
Yes.
cannot say it enough. It's like being you is a big deal. It took a lot to make a you, and
Yes.
if you're still on this side of the veil, then you still have an opportunity to
Mm.
bring your real self forth. And the thing is, it's like to me, it's not like sometimes we think, well, we got to build something, we got to sell something, we got to be delivering a program, we got to be doing retreats, we got to be doing these things to stay valid, to stay me, you know what I mean? To stay, what's the
Yeah,
word?
I do know what
You
you
know,
mean.
you know.
Yes. Mm.
No, we don't.
Mm.
We got to be real
Mm.
where we are, and I'm just not into it anymore. Maybe I just moved into another zone, and that when I was in my 50s, my 40s, that was a good time to do
Mm.
all kinds of things. Now I feel like, you know what? It's time for me to behold and to really watch what happens when I do this really well. When I do this really well. It's like, hey, what would happen if my website was really a good website? But if you're doing websites, you're doing sweatshirts, t-shirts, you're doing CD compilations, you're doing retreats, you know what I'm saying? You're doing
Yes.
devotionals every Sunday, you're doing Skid Row. We're doing Skid Row the 1st of May for All Women's Day. You're doing things.
Mm.
You're doing things, but it's like if you take one thing and enjoy it and really see how to make it sustainable and wonderful and excellent, then that'll open up for more things. And so I'm not trying to do all that multitasking. It's like, what would happen if I just could just be here?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why I haven't done any extra things. I know how to do those things, but I don't want to do those things right now. I just want to sing, and have conversations that bring us into an awareness of who we are,
Mm.
and uh, and that builds community.
Yes, indeed. Is there something you wanted to do when you were younger that you still long to do, or do you feel like
I want to
I'm?
learn how to swim
Hmm.
to save my life. I want to learn how to swim to save my life, because right now, but I did it in a dream though. In a dream, I had to jump out of this boat, and I had to do it, because I was going to die, And they
Mm.
were like, "You can swim," so I jumped out of the boat and I swam and I breathed, because I can swim. I mean, I look like an Olympic swimmer, man.
Mm.
Can't swim worth a fart. I mean, it's like I can, but
Yeah.
I can glide. They didn't teach me how not to drown. And John
Mm.
Barnes, who passed on, a great producer and deep friend of mine, he told me, he said, I could teach you how to swim. He says, before I taught you how to swim, I would teach you how not to drown.
Mm.
He says, and they
Mm.
don't teach you that. When you learn to swim, the first thing you should learn is how not to drown.
That makes so much sense
I
because
know.
that's the reason I'm like I'm not going to that deep end because
Right.
when my toes are touching the bottom, I'm
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
because I don't want
Yeah.
to drown. That is
Right.
so true.
But you learn how not to drown. You learn how not to drown. Then you can have fun learning how to swim.
Yes. Hmm.
So if that's a metaphor for life, you know,
Yes. Hmm. So are you going to learn to swim?
yeah. I'm
That's
just looking
it.
for the right swimsuit. Nah, it's not a priority. It's
Right.
not a priority, it's not really a priority, but it's beautiful to see my grandkids and all of them swimming and stuff. I mean, I think every child should learn to swim, but
Yes.
but in the South especially, I don't know if it was like that in other places, but in the South, man, a lot of mothers had a fear of swimming, of the water. I don't know if it's the Middle Passage, the
Right. That's what I was just
Holocaust,
thinking. Hmm.
but there's a great fear when I was growing up of swimming, you know. But I can learn to swim. I just need to learn how to not drown.
That's right. And on and popping. If there is one thing you want people to say about your existence on this physical plane, many, 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 many years ago, or what, ahead ago, I don't know, many years from now, how about that? What would you want them to say about Rickie Byars?
She stopped drinking plastic water, water in plastic bottles, long before they did. She say she cut down on plastic a lot. She used so little plastic, plastic went out of business. That's what I want to hear him say. That she really did take care of the soil, by composting her fruits and vegetables, and she gave so much to the earth, and she threw the best parties.
I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah,
But what?
I wish I could say something deep and extraordinary, but mostly I think they'll say what I found about what people say about you when you leave. It ain't none of that stuff you wish they did.
Too late.
So be happy, man. Be happy. Be in the joy. I want them to say that girl was a happy spirit, man.
Yes, yes. Well, speaking of plastic um, bottles,
Hey, I'm proud of you.
well, you might not be after I do. Well, after I say what I'm about to say. So, of course, when I use plastic bottles, I think of you because everything all right.
No, I was looking for my Jaden Smith Just Water bottle.
Oh, okay. I thought the little beans came in to visit you. I was like,
No,
they're back.
I was looking for my Jaden, because his is made out of, he makes his out of mostly paper
Really
and just a
interesting.
little and really just a
Well,
little.
so I look at your face change. So when I had this today, I mean I don't drink out of it when I'm doing. I do drink, but I don't hold up anymore. But every time I have a bottle of water, I think of you. And today I was like, oh yeah, I can just drink. I'm like, no, Ricky's coming. I'm gonna
This
have
is
one of these.
powered by.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, but it's if the plastic makers stop making plastic, I mean, the places where they make that plastic, people are dying. Just
Mm,
the high rates of cancer, just because what it takes, what it emits into the air, what it takes, what it does. See, and that's the thing. It's like if you have an existence right now, and we're talking about what I want people to say about me when I'm gone. It doesn't matter. What matters right now is what we're doing to take care of this beautiful earth.
yes, yes. I get to spend another hour with you tomorrow morning. For me.
Yeah.
Vicky, I love and appreciate you. Thank you for being part of my spiritual journey. Like you, I feel like, I used to say when my spiritual journey began, but it's really when it became a conscious thing.
Hmm.
And your songs, your music, your ministry, your joy, your creativity has been part of that journey. I, those songs are just never. It's not. Some songs I'm like, oh my god. I remember many years ago when I listened to Pandora. It's like, they keep playing the same damn song, and that's
Hmm.
maybe twice in an hour or so. Felt
Hmm.
like every 20 minutes. But I can listen to your songs, and it's like I'm hearing for the first time because there's a deeper message in there.
Hmm.
There's it's like hearing God in a way that I can't hear sometimes because my mind is doing what my mind does and think and look for this and figure that and overanalyze.
Hmm.
Thank you for your yes.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for listening to the song. Thank you for sticking to it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I love you, Ade.
I
Ade.
love you too, Ricky. I wonder if you were going to do that, but of course, you didn't want to let me down. Thank you, Ricky. You can find out more about Ricky by going to her website, which is rickiebyars.org, right?
That's right.
rickiebyars.org. And she does Sunday devotional every Sunday. What is it, 10 a.m. Pacific?
Yes.
And for 2 hours. And all that information is on the website. Is on YouTube, youtube.com/, Rickie Byars.
Oh
Everything,
yeah, yeah, that's right. Rickie
yeah,
Byars. That's right.
Rickie Byars. And she's on IG as well. Are you doing anything coming up that you want people to know?
Yeah, but I forgot what that is. Just be in the joy.
Be in the joy. Thank you so much, Ricky. I appreciate you.
Oh, you're
And
welcome.
well, I'll see you tomorrow on Soul Fulfilling.
Love ya.
Love you, love you, love you. Woo! That was good. That was good. It was different. I hadn't really. Yeah, I love you too, William. Thank you very much, my brother. It's been a while to actually interview people like that, and I feel like I'm going to meet Ricky in a different kind of way. I thank all of you. Thank you all for being here. Join us every Wednesday if you're in America. Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and 2 a.m. and Thursday morning. And yeah, so fulfilling every Wednesday, Thursday. Also, if you are interested in podcasting, you can check out libsyn.com. Make sure you use my promo, Ade or Ade. I'll bring Ricky on to say it. Yeah, libsyn.com, libsyn.com. You get a whole month free, and depending on when you sign up, you might get even like up to 2 months free. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Lulu. I appreciate you. Roslyn, it's good to see you, and everybody else, William, New Jay, Suzanne, April. Those of you that are listening, they're not in the chat room, I call you silent listeners. I love and appreciate you. Check out my website, lifecoachade.com, lifecoachade.com. That's ADE. And sign and also go to bit.ly/your ancestors for representing your ancestors. That's taking place in about a week's time, April 28th. I love you. Thank you for being here. Peace and blessings. See you next week.
Be who you are. Let your light shine.